going to be 120 dispensaries across our state. And Nisha's saying
I
here,
bring the
even if
eggshells
legalized,
again.
the marijuana can be sold as
I'm
soon
gonna put
as
them in
Nish Q
flat.
and his company will be ready. Folks, so that's what we're really focusing on right now is scaling. How do we go from 160,000 patients to 2 million consumers? And that will be a little bit of an issue. We're going to have to figure that out. I have family members in Las Vegas, and I remember when they first moved to fully recreational sales. I got there soon after. It was not right away, but soon after. Vegas is Saturday night, 9 p.m.
What you gonna eat?
That's Las Vegas. It's like, all right, that's fair. Here's what
can
you
eat
could be
that
headed for.
one?
I think the excitement is going to be massive.
I don't have sweet potato.
I would imagine, since it's been approved and they're looking to roll it out, that they want to start
You didn't have
sales as
bread.
soon as humanly possible, right? You don't. They didn't propose it to not make the money.
Are you sure you're okay?
They're looking to make the money.
No, you
And in order to do that, you got to sell the product. And so sooner or later, you're going to get it. And I would like to think. I mean, somewhere you start thinking about people, you know, moving around, doing what they want to do, spending more time outside. Now, I've said about that issue. You know, anybody who's telling you you're not going to smell more marijuana outside after you have legal recreational sales is just lying to you. They're just lying to you. You are going to have more of places. And I understand why people don't like that. I have said this about this product, and I think that it is true because it is. It is an intrusive product.
It's like a sheep.
Right? Like, I just bought a house not that long ago, and I love where I live, and my neighbors are great. And I mean great. Dude, if I could handpick them, and I haven't talked to them a whole lot, little waves, little this and that, but the yards are taken care of, there's the right kind of cars in the driveway, everybody seems to go to work every day. I like where I'm at. I'm happy where I am, right? And I got great neighbors. But on Friday night, if they're on their back patio drinking, that does not affect me if I'm out on mine. If they get so drunk and they burst through the fence,
Live here is Amish, right?
it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
If I'm smoking weed on my back patio and they're out on theirs, that does affect me. You can smell it. It's intrusive. It gets over. It doesn't stay in your yard. Your Busch Light can stays in your yard unless you throw it over the fence. And again, I got good neighbors that don't do that. So I understand why people are hesitant here, because what the scenario I'm talking about isn't you being out in public. That's you cooking out on your patio. And I'm telling you, get ready, because it's going to happen. And we're going to have these kind of arguments all next year. Should you be able to smoke on your back patio? Don't laugh. There were literally questions last year. People were like, well, vegans. Incidents throughout the city once we have recreational sales. They're just being dishonest. I want the recreational sales too. I'm not willing to lie about it to get it though.
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. Guardians improved to 12-5 on 70 road. Leaf playing again this afternoon, 135. All right. Agree with her politically, and she doesn't necessarily. I don't. And the toughest men in the world, gal.
As long as the media doesn't have Trump to brag.
Very talented.
They're struggling for shit to talk about. Went to the beach. Big deal. They went to a concert. Big deal. I mean, it's not a. It's not.
The NFL ratings that absolutely needed no
Every
help
little
whatsoever.
thing isn't newsworthy.
That's the only reason her traveling.
The only celebrities in the world.
The NFL's rich.
They do that with everybody.
Her trav at
She's not the
Coachella,
only one
having fun,
celebrities.
grinding, young and in love, enjoying themselves. Not an NFL game to be
I saw
found
that
in.
house sweetheart is really nice.
This woman just gets hate for no good reason. Why are you talking about? Well, because of who decided to hate on her.
I want to have a house like that.
And it is another female artist,
Probably not now.
Courtney Love.
Maybe someday.
Who
knows?
Nobody considers to be a musician anymore, right? Like, nobody considers Courtney Love to be a musician anymore. You like the Two-Hole records, okay, fine. But she's been non-existent in this space for as long as I can remember.
Look at picture that one.
And I loved her back in the day. I loved Hole.
Then I can.
I remember going to see Hole open up for Nine Inch Nails. Called Jacob's Pavilion Bridge. Amazing. That was a lot of fun. But she's now speaking out about Taylor Swift. She called her unimportant. As a matter of fact.
The house here, sweetheart,
In a new interview with The Standard,
Cannot be.
Courtney Love not only went off about Taylor,
Can't-
but Beyonce.
Cannot be to make it in the Philippines.
Quote,
Because
Taylor Swift is not
especially
important.
Bulusan.
She might be a safe space for girls.
Oh,
And she's
what a
probably
beautiful
the Madonna,
words.
as far as popularity goes, of now. But she's not interesting as an artist, Love declared. So, of course, people are going to reach out now and start telling Courtney Love you're trying to, clasp it to your relevancy and all of
That's
that.
actually what I did
But it's
today.
like, The Standard wanted to talk to
Of
Courtney
course,
Love
I
before they
think
knew
so.
what she was going to say about Taylor. So there's still still relevance. I don't think anybody views her as a musician anymore.
I make gluten-free.
I will admit that while growing up,
Bread.
being a fan of Madonna and seeing what Madonna did,
I
she
got the
felt
breads.
important's not the right word,
In a
but she did feel
freezer.
different than Taylor feels. Now, I would have to put
wash it
into
on the
that,
tray.
well, my age. I view things differently today than I did then. And let's be honest, Madonna was trying to speak to my generation. I don't think that's what Taylor Swift is looking to do. So I'm not sure I'm going to feel her come off as an artist the way Madonna was looked at. There's a couple of things in this. Madonna wanted to push the envelope. That was part of what she did. She viewed that as part of her artistry. And I would, much like when people talk about movies, that's like, the X-Men is a movie, it's not cinema. And I can understand the distinction there. I think Taylor Swift's a pop star, not necessarily what we would normally call an artist. However, she does write a good portion of her songs. I can't sit here and say she has written everything she's ever performed. I don't know that to be true, but she has written more than enough of her catalog. Taylor.
Is that an
She
ice
is a
cream?
talented young woman. If you don't
Is
like
that
pop
delicious
music, you
ice
don't like
cream
pop
there?
music, that's fine. And the people of Courtney Love's, space would have always been like, these pop stars. This is what she would have been saying about the pop star of the day while she was out there, a big thing. There's just part of that. But Taylor doesn't feel as if she's trying to push the envelope the way Madonna was. What I would say about that is, do we need it? The envelope's been pushed. The envelope's off the table. There's no more edge. The edge is society now. Rolling Stone. And people say, leftist rag! Well, they were always a
Are you
leftist.
happy?
That's always what they were. The difference is when they started, they were the counterculture. And they were pushing back against
is this?
culture and saying, look, the people who control the culture are bad!
think
They're
it's-
bad!
I think it's
Because they're in control of the culture.
It's just like.
And I think I don't need to do it. I don't think she's necessarily trying to be an artist per se. She's writing what she wants to write. And that's what artists should do. But I don't think I would agree, she does not necessarily feel as important as Madonna did. But I'm not sure that that's true
That is
as
so
much as it is
funny.
I cared more about the pop stars of the day. And Madonna felt like, oh my God, dude, look at my generation moving the needle
Katrina.
here. And
She's
I'm
so
not
funny.
part of that now. Now it's just songs for me. So I don't know if I'm the guy that gets to judge that, really. People are yelling at Courtney Love, saying in 100 years, nobody will remember Courtney Love. People will always remember Taylor. Be careful there. Remember when Madonna said the wrong thing? People were out there telling her, oh, Madonna always sucked. And I had to come in here and I was like, wait a minute. Madonna's not a big deal, you liars. I spent my entire life trying to have sex with women. And for like 15 years, all of those women were rocking one of the 4 famous Madonna looks. Like, that lady moved culture around, baby.
Did we pass by there?
Dude, the revisionist history is nuts.
It's
Never
Dutch
mind
Valley
the
over
album's
there.
stacked with hits for crying out loud.
Okay.
Legacy and all that, we've been through this 100 times. You wait 100 years, there'll be another Taylor. And she'll just be some lady that was hot in the 2020s. That's what it'll be. That's what it'll be. Madonna's kind of known for the Virgin, like a prayer, and pushing the boundaries of the video, and what's acceptable for people to be watching when they get home from school. But Them days are over. Those days are 100% over. The envelope was pushed off the table. It's literally on the bottom of people's shoes now. There is no reason
ain't
to
it
be
nice
doing
to
it.
get off
Taylor's
of
giving
work
you what's right for the time right now.
Still have
and also
daylight
being
left.
true to herself.
What?
I don't think
I
that's
said,
a problem.
isn't it nice to
Now,
get
there
off
are
of
people
work and
who
still
are
have
attacking
daylight
Courtney
left?
Love for being critical of Taylor Swift,
Instead
and
of
it
going
turns
in
out
at 4
they're
o'clock
wrong too.
and getting off at 11
Talk about
o'clock at
that
night.
Live from the Hall of Fame City, and just as bad as NFL officiating, the Stansberry Show.
Get to do that
106.
tomorrow and Saturday, and then
Welcome back to the
Sunday and
program.
Monday off,
We're all
back to
walking
back.
back with you at 9 a.m. Your first $1,000 keyword of the day gets passed out with me. We'll continue those all day. Teresa will have a few of them for you as well. We've been talking about
Nice
Taylor
there. I
versus
want
Courtney
to go
Love.
there.
Now, this is really Courtney Love versus Taylor.
When we gonna
Taylor
go
Swift
there?
isn't damn at all.
I can't really look. I'm driving.
Dating a man.
Sorry.
Apparently, a lot of women
I wanna
find
go
attractive,
there.
It's
including
like
my
over there.
I
It's
found that out while
beautiful.
watching a Subway commercial. I was like, dude, I kind of want that cookie.
Some
She's
kind
like,
of
I'll take one of
store.
those.
But it's
Just like, oh, is that right? Is that right?
But
Number
trees.
87? That's kind of, you kind of want one of them? It's like, yeah, I imagine it's the haircut. She grew up on the southwest side
I'm
there.
hungry.
I feel
You're
like there's
hungry?
probably a little of that baked into that. Anywho, Courtney
Gonna
Love
be
had
good.
said Taylor Swift is unimportant. She said she may be the Madonna as far as popularity goes, but she's not interesting as an artist. Well, I kind of disagree because I think like she writes a good portion of her catalog and not a lot of artists do anymore. And it's essentially, I'm okay with people who use
Did you pass by
songwriters.
here, right?
And I think you can
Yeah,
be an
this is-
artist and use songwriters.
This is the road.
Depending, and especially
out.
the longer your career goes on. I mean, when people find out how many songwriters the Rolling Stones used, I think people are going to, freak out. And I mean, freak out. They used to lie about all this stuff back in the day because they wanted you to buy the hype of like, no, it's this band and there's this mystique and there's this, and all of that has fallen by the wayside with the internet. And everybody can track every piece of information down. But like, all of your favorite bands have used songwriters. Every last one. It's insane. Like, I've never understood people arguing against a songwriter. What you're saying is, could I have less decent songs, please? Makes no sense. Absolutely no sense, right? And so Taylor does write a good portion of her catalog. And I think that that kind of is one of the benchmarks of being an artist. What you're saying here is you don't like her art. That's fine. You don't have to like her art. And I don't think there's a need for a Madonna to push the envelope. We already had that. It was called Lady Gaga. And then everybody was like, we already had this. It was called Madonna. Then Lady Gaga kind of stopped doing that. And then she just, gave you the songs.
Just
And then
only
you
little
did
that because
We don't need the envelope
Dennis
pushed.
is coming
Have you seen TikTok?
early, 7 in the
It's
morning.
pushed. It's off the table. We're
Then
fine. We don't
7,
wear
8, 9, 10.
Oh, no.
Like I said, once you get your license,
That whole thing is, it's over.
you can probably start
There's
going out
no
earlier in
of
the
this
day.
oppression thing we're pushing back against.
Which is already
My generation has to get their voice out. It's like, no, your
That I
generation
didn't
is the
see.
only voice that's out. So we don't necessarily need the Madonna anymore. And I think that's what Taylor understands. Now, I see people being critical of Courtney Love here. And if you disagree with what she says, I can understand that. That's well within anybody's right to be like, I disagree with what she's saying. And if you accuse her of just using Taylor Swift's name
What
to
the
grasp to some relevance,
What?
it's
I think I could
always
argue that
taking
point. I
all
understand how
some
people
Taylor
arrive to it, and there's
Swift.
probably at least some of it baked into what her opinion is. So I don't think I could argue it all that strongly. It does kind of smell a little like that. And let's be honest, Courtney, Billy Corgan wrote a lot of your record. And I mean a lot of it now. So I don't know if we get to tell the other lady who writes a lot of her stuff that she's not an artist when you were literally leaning on Billy Corgan and, let's be honest, her. Right? There's some of them. But I see women being critical of Courtney Love over a whole other issue here. And this one I don't like. Women need to support women. Quit tearing down another strong, independent queen, Courtney. No. No. That's the wrong way to go about it. What you've just said is no other woman can have any opinion on Taylor other than she's great for the country, she's great for music, she's great for fan. What you're saying is you need women to be sycophants of Taylor Swift. You're arguing for people to wait for it now, use less of their individuality. You're asking for less of that, in her opinion. Women need to support women. Quit tearing other women down. No. Courtney's telling you what she thinks about this situation. Doesn't mean she's right about it overall for society. She's right about how she feels about it for her. If you want to approach it from the angle of, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But like, come on. The people who say things like that say the most awful things in the world online. Everybody's got an opinion on somebody they find kind of annoying. And I understand people who are annoyed with Taylor because she's reached the saturation level. Like, Jesus, dude, this woman's everywhere. Although she's not really anymore. This is the first time I've heard her name in weeks. Other than some Coachella videos, and I brought her up in here a couple of times to make that point. That other than some Coachella videos, you never hear about her at all anymore. Doing it for all the ratings! Because people lost their minds over this. Went crazy. But if you're telling other women they can't be critical of a woman, that's actually setting women back. I think what a lot of women would say is, no, I'm a woman. And so I need to say what I'm saying because nobody's going to hear it from a man because he's just toxic and the masculinity is getting the best of him. And they hate women. Secretly, the repugs, they hate women. You can see it. That's what gets said when a man says it. If criticism is needed, it almost has to come from within. And Courtney Love is a woman. Or at least what we call it. You have to be on his side. Never. You will never hear it. That is a feminine thing. That is a female thing. That is a hear us roar thing. And that's where people start to eye roll you. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't necessarily agree with what Courtney Love has said here. As a matter of fact, I've given you 11 good points on how I don't agree with what she has said here. But defend Taylor Swift just because she's a woman? Nah, that's you looking to protect Taylor from any criticism that can come from anywhere. And that is where I'd have to be like, that's just a line too far.
Give Stansberry a piece of your mind. Here's the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. And let him know just how wrong he is. It's just wrong. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
9 a.m., rock the bank with me. Grab that first $1,000 cue. A bonus $1,000 could be, I could use that today. Any day. But we'll give it to you 9 a.m. this morning. We have been talking about Courtney Love.
There's a greenhouse.
Standard. And they got to talking about the state of music. And a lot of people feel like, everything sounds the same. It's like, I hate to break it to you guys. Everything in the 90s sounded the same too. Music goes by scene. You realize most people who weren't like grunge fans.
What is that house they're selling?
Yeah, they're modular homes.
This goes with this, and because wait for it, there's all the same, right? It's like it's not really necessarily a new argument. I'm taking this via the text line 33045. While we were talking about this, one of the things Courtney Love said about Taylor Swift is that she may be the Madonna of today in popularity, but she's not important as an artist. The music's not. To which people are asking me on the text line, if Taylor Swift's music is unimportant, what the hell does that make Courtney Love's? And yeah, I think you're right. I think these songs could be back on the radio as like what we call recurrence. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Right? Like Doll Parts would be good enough. And when International Women's Day came up this last year, I played Doll Parts. I did. It's like, yeah, man, like she was a big thing in that movement then. She's not a big thing anymore. Like, that song was all right. This one's all right. Billy Corgan knows how to write songs. Here it is. Make me over. I mean, he wrote this whole damn record. You know what I mean? He wrote, or it might have been the first one. Don't quote me on that. But he wrote a good portion of one of the records. I remember the whole thing because Kurt was all pissed off about it. It was like a whole big thing, right? So I don't necessarily look back on Courtney Love's catalog and go, oh, this is important music. What is important music? Like, it reminds me, and I said this, but it reminds me of this argument when Scorsese came out and said, look, those superhero movies are movies. They're not cinema. And I don't know how to quantify what he means, but I know he's right about it, right? It's kind of one of those things. They are different things. Doesn't mean they're bad. It's just like, that's not really cinema. It's just a really good movie, right? It's a different thing. Like, and I don't know what I would call important music. I'm a big Kiss fan. They were important for the scene. And they were important for their influence on what they did on other bands. I don't think the songs are like, oh, thank God somebody wrote Love Gun, right? Like, I don't think, that's not the same thing. Like, is Pink Floyd more important? Watch this now as we start to figure out who the important musicians are, and you're going to list them all to me, and we're going to find out why is because of the subject matter that they talk about, while people simultaneously tell you they wish artists would talk about certain things.
That clown I was watching on
That's going to be
on
the interesting
YouTube,
part.
who's on American Idol
Because
for
everything's cool.
America's Got
Everything comes
Talent
from,
or something like
you know,
that.
personal experience.
He was
Oh,
like
I'm
a
pushing
singing
back
clown.
against this, or I need to get that. And
He's gonna be at
what would important music be?
here at
The Wall?
Kent State University. Thing.
That I feel like when somebody says, "Oh, that's not important," like I'm like, "Oh, so you
Oh,
mean it's
those
not
pity
pretentious?"
party.
Like, is that what you mean? Because that's what that sounds like to me. Again, today, all these years later, does Madonna's music feel important? She was important, yes, and through the music, that's how she became so. Because like advancement of women stars and all of that, like she was kind of one of those people, right? The 80s is like Prince, Michael Jackson, Madonna. There are obviously others, and there were big artists in this and that, but if you wanted to say this, as a matter of fact, if you wanted to say to somebody, here's the 80s musically: Springsteen, Prince, Madonna, you know, a few others, but like that's, I mean, I'm pretty close, right? I'm pretty close. Does Madonna's music feel, like, does Like a Virgin feel important today? No.
Why does this always back and
Does
back
Like a
and back?
Prayer feel important today?
It's always...
The video felt really important back in the day, remember? It was so important they had to make an edit. Now, a lot of the reason why that edit got made is because the video was too long, and MTV was like, faster, get to it faster, get to it faster. You know how I know? The guy who was running MTV runs iHeartRadio. That's how I know, baby. That's our CEO. That's how I know. Make it faster. Do it faster. Like, that's, I believe me. I know what the hell they was saying. So that's part of the reason why that edit got made. That felt important in the moment. Doesn't feel important anymore. It doesn't make it less important for its time, but it's not like people sit around and talk about the artistry of Madonna.
Milk, bread, and banana, okay?
That's not how legacies work. You're the thing when you're the thing. And then when you die for 3 days, everybody pretends you were still the thing for 3 days. And then we kind of move on.
Love you.
In another 10 years, you're going to have another tape. I also said, you know, people are being critical of Courtney because